What up? What up, my guys? Welcome to another show, man. It's NBA Talk with Jay. We got our guy Shark with us. We got our guy Josh as well, man, aka Punt _ school on Twitter as well. What's up with you guys? Shark, everything cool with you, my brother?
Yes, it is getting a bit more cool. I was hot a couple hours ago. Of course, big injury news, big COVID news, but it is a suddenly not so casual Free Friday, April 15, 2022. Punt School Australia. Josh, my man, partner in crime, domination only. What's going on a Saturday morning in Australia?
A fresh Saturday morning in Australia. It is good. It is good to be back. It has been a long time between shows between the three of us, but I'm glad we could get one in before the playoffs officially start. We will tackle these play-in games, and then we will undoubtedly set up another playoff session as well between the three of us for everyone too.
Yeah, I just went over there to Josh's house real quick. You see what I'm saying? So I just pulled up to Josh and we're gonna do this show together. Man, I just sent some shirts over there to Australia, man. So, but just left the post out. But it's all business, man. It's all business. Go to the first game here. Let's go over here to the streets of Cleveland. You see what I'm saying? We got the Hawks here laying 1.5 on the road here, Shark. We got everybody, we got what we wanted. Jared Allen is back here for the Cavs, Shark. First game back. Probably not 100% though. How you looking at this game, my brother?
Yeah, this is going to be really, really tough. And I think just generally speaking, people want to take Atlanta here. Of course, Atlanta's the hot ticket. They looked spectacular blowing out Charlotte at home. And of course, Cleveland did not look particularly impressive in a backdoor cover against Brooklyn on the road. But if you go through this matchup, this is going to be a really, really tough position. Atlanta, as we said when we took Charlotte at home, is an absolute juggernaut at home. Now they're 10-0-1 coming off a road game coming home. But on the road, it's the polar opposite. They're 0-9 ATS last 9 games on the road against playoff caliber teams. Their last cover was January 23rd. I will mention it again. A J Money Sunday special at Charlotte. And previously, actually, maybe not coincidentally, at Cleveland on New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2021. 121-118 Atlanta. Key point there, though, they were an underdog. As a favorite on the road, you fall back into the niche for Cleveland, which is a home underdog. Tough stuff here. Josh, you got any comments on this one? This one is just completely confounding for me.
This one's hard. This one's really, really hard. Obviously, the dynamics of the matchup itself become difficult when you bring Jared Allen back into the lineup like we were talking about. It changes a lot for both teams. And for Atlanta in particular, it means the absence of someone like John Collins becomes a lot more pronounced in a situation like this. So they didn't feel it against Charlotte naturally because they don't have, the bodies inside to necessarily take advantage. Cleveland do if they have Allen and Mobley playing at their best. So another situation as well where completely different to Charlotte, where you have a Cavs team who is very comfortable playing half-court basketball. When fully healthy, they were efficient at playing half-court basketball, both offensively and defensively as well. So this is an entirely different challenge for Atlanta. I'm surprised that they're getting so much respect the way that they have. And it's not necessarily because I think they're the wrong side by any means. I just think that this game really is a coin flip, just like the market suggests it's going to be. And ultimately, it might come down to just having that home court advantage down the stretch, because I don't think that, this is one of those situations where Atlanta's going to be able to play from in front the entire way through. And if not, then I don't think I necessarily trust this team just yet. So for me, a really, really tough matchup, a lot of dynamics that don't necessarily make sense right now because we have these moving parts where, we still might have Bogdanovic out as well for Atlanta, who's questionable. Two teams who, in situations like this, in a one-off environment where you're having players come in and come out of the lineup, it changes a lot of the functionality there, and it makes it really hard to properly, I think, project the game script of this one. So for me, complete pass, and I think the market extremely accurate where it is at the moment.
Yeah, it's a tough game, man. Looks like a toss-up, but I think this is a Cavs type of game, man. It's not really recent bias or anything, but I don't think that the Cavs are a playoff caliber team. Obviously, with full healthy, we saw them in the season. They really caught up on a bunch of teams. They didn't know how good the defense was going to be. That's why the Cavs were covering all those first quarters. Now they're not sneaking up on anyone. These teams know what they want to do. The Hawks have won the last 3 meetings so far this year as well. So the Cavs got that first one with their starting lineup. Then the Hawks like, hold on, guys, we're the real deal over here. Obviously, they know that they shouldn't even be in this play-in tournament as well. So I could see the Cavs possibly getting it done, but I did take the Hawks, the money line here, man. I knew that Allen would be in here, and I'm glad that he's in there because now it's getting from everyone on the Hawks to now it's people like, oh, they actually think that the Cavs can do it. Allen probably won't be 100%. He won't be blocking shots with that left hand, and I'm pretty sure it's the left hand that he has the fractured finger on. It's not fully healed, guys. He's only playing here because this is a do or die type of game. I don't see the Cavs getting into the playoffs, guys. If they do, it'll be a 4-0 sweep as well. Anything can happen, but I'm willing to put my money on the Hawks here. I do think they're a better balanced team as well. The Cavs, they're just too young right now. Next year, they'll be in the playoffs and continue their upward movement. But right now, this Hawks team is more ready. I feel like they're the team that's ready to take this challenge. And even on the road, and I lost the last game versus the Heat as well when they played everybody, but they showed that they can ball with one of the best teams over there in the East. I think they bring that same fire, even though it's not on the road here. Not at the house, you'll see Trae Young shushing the crowd in this one. Give me the Hawks money line, -120. I would trust the -1.5. I'll go with the Hawks here. We're going to get some hot wings tonight, my guys. Let's go over here to the streets of LA real quick, guys. We got the Clippers here getting the point. This is my guys' game over. Shark has the hat on. You see what I'm saying? What are we doing, my brother?
Well, I have the hat on. I almost burned the hat about 2 hours ago, but it survived my wrap. And, we talked about this on Twitter. I said, are you fucking kidding me? And I said it over and over. I said it to Jay in a personal comment. I said it to Josh in a personal comment. I woke up and it was the first thing I saw. I didn't get through my morning breath before I saw this game. It had been completely contaminated by one word, COVID. I'm not a big fan of what's going on in the world regarding this, and I'm not a fan of what happened in the NBA regarding this. Contaminated the product. And now you come back to the center. This last game here of potentially the season for either side to be so contaminated by pulling the top player off one roster for this issue is so problematic. And this is not a political stance by me at all. It's just super, super unfortunate. And the game is a completely different cap. We had this game capped at the top level last night across all boxes, numerically, primarily. And I'll go through that briefly. If you go through this matchup, the Pelicans have owned the Clippers the last two seasons. Of course, different rosters, but it has not mattered. Prior to losing 119-100 in the last matchup, going back about 10 days ago, the Pelicans had been beating them by an average of 18 points per game over a 5-game sample, home and road. Obliteration. And the line had been telling you a good story. Early this year, Clippers did lay a short 4.5 on the road to the Pelicans. At that point in the season, the Pelicans were 2-14 on the campaign. They came out with the worst record in the sport, of course. And the Pelicans did get them at home, which was their biggest win of the season at that point in time. Then it came back to Crypto.com. It was short 7, should have been 7.5, 8. They got blown out again. Then a big line gap from -7 to Pelicans -3.5 at home. Pelicans blew them out again. Then Paul George came back, and it came back over to Clippers -2. Clippers did hammer them 119-100. And Josh and I were discussing this last night. This is a showcase to where we were capping the game. The reason why we faded the Clippers on the road is because we said they're great at home against these teams. What did they do? They lost on the road, as we said, and we expected them to come back at home where they're comfortable, and they are 5-0 ATS last 5 in this position. Final point, if you go through it, Pelicans have been inconsistent with CJ McCollum at best. They are 1-4 ATS last 5 road against Western playoff teams. The only cover in there was a blowout win at San Antonio, a revenge game in the division, not applicable here. If we really go through this, I'll give you guys 30 more seconds. The cap at -4 is really difficult because this is a new environment. And people always say, should I hedge? Should I not? We're not looking at the same game. This is no longer Clippers Pelicans as of midnight last night. This is a completely different cap. So it's hard to advise financially what to do. We do like the Clippers at +1 unofficially. And we look at what's going on here. The Clippers without Paul George are 1-3 ATS last 4 at home against the East. Couple blowout losses to the Sixers, the Knicks, Raptors. However, they are 3-0 ATS last 3 against the West, with a very impressive 119-104 win against the Dubs, a blowout 132-111 against the Lakers, which I think is applicable here. Lakers and Pelicans very similarly weighed at the back end of the West. That is my take on the game. Throw it to Josh for a bunch of on-court angles and continued dominance in these points.
Look, firstly, I think the one point to get across here, and there's obviously a lot of commentary around it, is do we buy out? No. The market entry point right now is obviously not great and not ideal, but don't buy out of position here. I still think that a lot of the on-court stuff that was being looked at last night is still applicable here. And what we, in particular, the one standout is the absolute discrepancy between these two teams when it comes to half-court execution, both offensively and defensively. And the Clippers' half-court defense is elite. It is top 3 in the NBA. Yes, you lose a fantastic two-way player in Paul George, but even in his absence, they were still 6th in the NBA in half-court defensive efficiency and points per possession. So that does not change at all. And you're talking about a Pelicans team who largely, offensively and defensively, their best basketball comes in transition. So when you're forcing them to play in half-court sets, which is exactly what's going to happen tonight in an environment like this, it changes everything that you can expect from New Orleans in a situation where I don't think that they're going to be able to generate the shots that they want. And the shots that they do want, which are in the mid-range largely, are exactly what the LA Clippers want you to do, because defensively they have the length, they have the bodies to close in and collapse there, that I think that it could be a situation where the Clippers offense is able to play in a little bit more of a transition situation off of misses and pushing the basket. And that's where things become extremely difficult for the Pelicans if you're trying to play catch up in a situation where you're constantly having to play against a set defense versus a Clippers team who is able to run out, attack different points of emphasis there on the floor where you're not set and you're not ready. So ultimately, looking at how the Clippers have performed against teams who are bottom 6 in half-court defense, which is where the Pelicans rank, they have absolutely obliterated teams in the past 2 months. And that's both with and without Paul George as well. Average win margin of 21 points in 6 games in those situations. 4 of those, like I said, without Paul George, 3 of those coming at home as well. So they love this environment. Offensively, they seem to get into rhythm better in these situations as well. You look at the other side of the fence as well, the Pelicans versus top 5 teams who in half-court defensive efficiency, they have lost every single one of those, and they have lost all of them by margin. They have been trailing by double digits at the half largely, and then full-time as well. So look, I still think a lot of that still applies here. Like I said, I think the biggest point of emphasis is that the market entry point on a Clippers -4 is not great. And, it's going to be difficult to cover by margin. But if you're looking at this entirely fresh from a fresh handicap at the current market value, Clippers +1 is still the only way you can play this. And that's probably the best time to buy in on them right now.
Yeah, that's a good point there, man. We got everybody popping off in the chat. We appreciate you guys. People hopping out with all type of props, totals. We got Scott Foster in the chat, man, with a $10 tip. He says game's gonna be tight tonight. It's not the real Scott Foster. He just got the name in the picture, man. But however, we appreciate the $10 tip. Yeah, it's gonna be a tough game, man. I like Josh points there, how it could be more points. I saw that Reggie Jackson said something as well that without Paul George, that this game it may have been a beat writer, but they were saying that the ball will actually move even more now because Paul George likes to do a lot of ISO, like 6% ISO plays for Paul George. So the ball will really get to moving now. And like guys in chat as well saying Zubac double-double, he's been scoring a lot more points as well. So it's a tough game for me. I do worry about this, guys. No one's probably thinking about this, but I kind of worry psychologically. They know that Paul George is going to be out for the next few games. Could it be that big of a blow to, like, obviously if he's out for tonight's game, he's going to be out for the start and probably the first 2 or 3 games for the playoff series as well. So I worry about their mindset if they know that they're done since they're superstar. Obviously, you already don't have Kawhi. Then now Paul George as well. It could be a really huge gut punch in my opinion. So it's a tough game for me. Obviously, I'm still rooting for you guys, the Clippers. Personally, if I had to bet it, I would possibly go with the young guys here to take over. But obviously, not the same team on the road. Their offense can go cold as well. Clippers have the better defense. Both teams can play some defense, but I can't wait to watch this game. It is Pelicans or nothing for me, but I'm staying off. I hope you guys cash with the Clippers, even the -4. You deserve it. That's how I feel, man. It's smack the fucking bookies up, man. I'm rooting for everybody, man. If it's not something that I'm against you on, I hope you win. Just take the bookies' money, my guys. I hope you guys cash. Anything else on this one or any? I do one thing as well. Jose Alvarado 5.5, 6 points. I think that's way too low. But Shark, any closing words on either one of these games, my brother?
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about this game for another 20 minutes. We won't, because I know people.
I got time.
Beers. I know they talk to some beautiful ladies at the bars. 5:20 Eastern on a Suddenly Not So Casual Free
We gotta
Friday.
talk about some shirts.
But talk about some shirts, some hats, some sunglasses. We got Josh out in Australia, I'm sure, printing some great merchandise for the people. And but one point on that, obviously you look at both sides of the game, and we always say take the names off the jerseys and forget the teams. When you see a playoff game, and I said a game 7 on Twitter, Michael Jordan, I was using hyperbole. Of course, this is not game 7. It's an effective game 7. But when you see a pick'em line, this game's going to be super tight. And I do think, go back to the game that the Pelicans did play against the Lakers in Crypto.com, going back a couple weeks, 114-111 Pelicans, right down to the wire. I think this is going to be right on the number tonight. As we said, our -4 number is unfortunately a little contaminated here, if not largely contaminated. But the new point is going to be really sharp. And one final point. I do think there is some merit to what Jay said about a look ahead to the playoffs without their guy. But I do think zooming into this particular environment, this does not necessarily apply to the Ciroc on ice, which does suggest that Pelicans will lay down. That's more of a regular season narrative. But I do think the Clippers group will rally together. I do think they have a lot of passion. You saw it in the playoffs last year without Kawhi Leonard, I believe. They were really shooting the lights out of the gym. Terrence Mann, I believe the pride of Florida State down here in Florida, shooting just absolute apeshit nuts from 3 against the Jazz in a home game in the third quarter. These guys, we've been saying all year, if they're going to turn up this game, they're going to shoot well from 3. They're a 3-point shooting team. They're volatile, and they will put forth a good effort. But I do think CJ McCollum here on the other side of this has a ton to prove tonight. You were saying this the other night, Jay. This is his team now. He doesn't have Dame Dalla in front of him. It's his team. He's the elderly vet, crazy to say, coming out of Lehigh 10 years ago at this point, but he is. And this is a statement game for CJ McCollum. So keep that in mind. Josh, any comments here?
Yeah, the only other thing I'll add to this game that I do like a look of still is a Clippers team total over, even with the dynamic changing. And I think, like you said, Jay, the ball movement and the distribution offensively changes a lot for the Clippers. And it actually makes it equally difficult for the Pelicans, who have spent X amount of time scheming for a situation where Paul George is in. To then have to change your scheme and adjust in a short period of time is extremely difficult. And I think that could work in LA's advantage in a situation like this. And like I said, when it comes to looking at how these teams perform in the half court, which is where I believe basically 80 to 90% of this game is going to be played, just like it was between the Clippers, Minnesota. I think that there's going to be a lot of points of emphasis for LA to attack. They spread the floor terrifically well. One thing that the Pelicans extremely susceptible to that they didn't have to worry about against San Antonio, because they don't spread the floor and the Spurs are a low volume and low efficiency 3-point shooting team, is teams who are able to drive and kick to the perimeter have always had large success against the Pelicans. That's basically the Clippers' DNA, really. They drive, they kick, they find the open man on the perimeter, and they live and die by the outcome. Unfortunately, sometimes it's too often where, the volatility of the 3-point shot essentially dictates what happens in a Clippers game. But that could be coming to the fore again tonight, where you're going to get a team who's going to be able to create and generate a lot of wide open threes on those catch and shoot threes. If that's the case, and they do shoot close to their average, which they have done at home in these situations for the past couple of months now, coming out of the All-Star break, I don't think that there's any difficulty for them clearing this team total, and it might actually be a higher scoring game in general. So that's definitely another look that I think stands tall and still holds strong even in this PG situation.
Yeah, I like the looks there. I like this, Shark, that CJ to go. The ball was in his hands a ton, and he played a lot of minutes. They made sure, even closing out the game, they made sure CJ might play this whole damn game, man. So, but obviously the Clippers will be focused in on him. They watched the last game as well. They know that he's the main ball handler. So that's the only. But I still, CJ McCollum, I'd be looking at that as well. But Jose Alvarado and Josh, I definitely agree. Obviously, it could be both team totals hit the over and the full game. I really do see like this over could go up. People probably seeing Paul George out, taking the under. This actually helps the offense for the Clippers as well, guys. You may see a little bit more of an up and down game. Neither team will like to go up against their set defense here. So I actually got a heavy lean to the over, man. I hate betting totals, especially betting overs. But with all these unders hitting, one of these are due to go over. I think this game's going over, man. But just real quick, man, I am running a special promo today. If you'd like to get a shirt, email me nbatalkwithjay@gmail.com. We got the Smack City shirts in. in, you get a free pair of J Money approved glasses today as well, guys. So if you watch the early show, you already know, my guys. Free NBA picks, man. Let's get to it. We're gonna start with Josh first, man. Go and follow him at Punt_school. Josh, let them know what you liking on tonight's card, and then we're gonna go to Shark, my brother.
Yeah, if you haven't got entry point into this game in particular, I still think Clippers with the +1 is the best way to do it. I'm also going to be playing a Clippers team total here. I will be taking the over on the Clippers team total, basically focusing all my attention on this one game. I don't have a strong opinion on that Atlanta game. So Clippers +1, Clippers team total over for me.
I like it.
Yeah, and jumping off, obviously discussed in detail, 20 minutes deep on 2 games. Impressive stuff. I like what we're doing here. You know, I was saying, you got to look at yourself in the mirror and respect yourself. That's the reason why this product exists at a high level. And that's everybody in the chat. You guys bring an incredible energy to the chat. Top plays in the chat, too. I see a lot of great angles in here. And, of course, followers that have followed Jay and I for now close to a year and a half. Punt, the beginning is right now the best times. Clippers tonight, I'm on -4. I dropped it in the morning with Josh. Tough stuff here. I would not advise that. Right now, we're letting it ride because I don't hedge. Hedge just incurs the biggest level of overthinking in the human mind. If it hits, you drive yourself nuts. If it doesn't, you're doubled down 2 units on both sides, angle shooting both sides. Difficult stuff, letting the floor ride. 1 unit play, but we will be back on here tomorrow with officials. First round of the playoffs opens, game 1 of 7. 9 words of lifestyle. Ride the wave down the water. J Money, a pleasure. Close them out.
Man, can't wait for the playoffs official. We have to do this again, Josh. Anytime you're ready, this is the time that me and Shark go live for the late show. So if you're ready for like, in all honesty, we could do this shit every day. I love the vibe. The people in the chat love it as well, man. I appreciate you. My guys all the way from Australia, man. Respect. But my guy Shark as well, coming live from the Airbnb, man. Respect as well. Let's get some cash. I'm gonna go with the Hawks tonight, man. I don't think that it's super easy. I'm not. There's no public shit here, but I really do think that the Hawks are the more hungry squad. The Cavs really on the downward trajectory. Even with Jared Allen back, I don't think he's 100%. He likely will be scared to hurt that hand even more, and he's kind of big with dunking as well. You may not see Jared Allen dunk one single time tonight with that hurt left hand. Guys, I'm a basketball player. All the blood will be rushing to that hand as well. Probably be throbbing, man. But hey, I wish him the best, but I do like the Hawks here on the money line, -120. You could take the -1.5 as well. I think the Hawks win this game by double digits. We're going to ice trade the game tonight, my guys. Let's get some cash. We're back tomorrow with my guy Shark, and hopefully if we find out a time, hopefully with Josh as well. If not, we'll see him back next week for sure, man. Got to get him back on here. Let me just put the Twitter handles up one more time. You can follow me as well on Twitter at JMoney. Follow Shark at Sharks and Sports. Follow Josh as well at Punt_school. We out, my guys. It's cash.